Hey guys, I'm Mike Diamond, and welcome to a dose of positivity. So, today I want to talk to you guys about purpose versus passion. A lot of people that I coach, and a lot of people lately, have been asking me what I feel the difference is, and also what I feel matters most. So everyone is different. So I'm not giving you this information to tell you what to do. I never tell people what to do. I just go on what feels right for me. So in answering the question that a lot of people do ask me, which is, do I follow purpose or do I follow passion? I have to say I follow purpose first. And why I'll tell you this. So for years now, when I base purpose, what I do is when we have a purpose, right? I discovered my inclination was I could communicate very well, so I went to acting school. And I was passionate about acting. That's the truth. But after I graduated school and I'd done some shows and then I did some reality TV and other stuff, I found like I lacked purpose and I was just going after a feeling. And passion is feeling, right? You're passionate about something. Purpose is mission based. Okay. So I was in a situation where I was doing stand up comedy at the comedy store, and an agent made an offer to work with me. It was the Gersh agency, which are a great agency. And after I got the offer, I sat by myself and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to be a stand up comedian. And there's nothing wrong with being a stand up comedian. There's a lot of great stand up comedians out there. But I felt deep inside that it wasn't my calling. So what I did is I took a step back and I sat with myself and I called a mentor of mine and I said, look, I've got a feeling intuitively that I should be, trying to help people in sobriety and doing something along the lines of more service driven. Now, like I said, this is just my calling. This is what felt right to me. So I took a big risk, which was to put my TV stuff and my acting and my comedy to the side a little bit and start to re-educate myself in, psychology and philosophy and just human motivation and how people think, feel, act, tick, mindfulness, nutrition, and just a whole different. I re-educated myself. Um, I read an incredible book by Robert Greene called Mastery. And Robert Greene, which is a great book, you should read it, talks about we all have an inclination. And what, he means is we all have a talent. God gives us all a talent. And the universe gives us these abilities. And with these abilities, what we should do is go out and be of service and bring value to others. And that is really purpose driven. So, for example, say you play a sport and you just do the sport because it makes you feel good. Okay. And you're like, oh, I do this sport and it's great. It makes me feel good. When the sport ends, okay, um, a lot of people say, look, I'm lost without football or I'm lost without baseball. I have no life or no purpose, right? I've lost my passion, my drive. And that's why I tell people don't follow passion. It's like they say, it's 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. You have to do this work continually. If I just go on what feels good all the time, because remember, we're always going to feel pleasure and try to avoid pain, I make bad choices sometimes. So it's like getting in a relationship when people continually get in relationships after they lose that kind of feeling, I'm not passionate anymore. Well, passion doesn't last. Passion can't last. And that's why purpose is glue. Purpose sticks everything together. And purpose gives us forward motivation. Okay. And what I mean by that is that it gives us something to look forward to when we get up in the morning. If I didn't have purpose, and my purpose is to inspire people, educate people, and motivate people to live their potential, love themselves because they matter, because we all matter. And if I attach that purpose with everything I do, right, with my skill set and what I'm inclined to do and my talents, and if I keep sharpening my sword, which is I have to keep reading, okay, and I have to keep, working as a speaker, coaching people, doing interventions, and if I keep gathering all the information and then using myself really as a science project, then I can bring value to other people. And I always say, if the cause is right, the effect is money. So if you're just chasing money, you're in trouble, right? And there's a lot of people that say, well, they have a purpose. But when you look at purpose, you have to really define it like this. If your purpose is just to make money, you're in trouble. If your purpose is just to prove to people that you can be successful, you're in trouble. If your purpose is based in fear, like you're afraid you're not going to get what you want, lose what you have, or you have guilt and shame for something you've done in the past, or you're afraid of the future, you're in trouble. If your purpose is based on a negative desire, which is the desire, just to like have sex, like, oh, I'm going to show them my purpose is to make a lot of money and build a huge house so I can bang a lot of women, you're in trouble. Okay. So you have to look at that purpose and make sure your purpose isn't connected with a disempowering value or choice. Okay. Because if it is, you're in trouble. So the key is to look at your purpose. Well, the key is really to sit down by yourself and figure out what you're good at. Now, a lot of the time we lose track of who we are because we get caught in a cultural system to survive. So if you're not in an environment that allows you to be authentic and to thrive, your authentic self gets buried. And like anything, the more you do something, whatever it is, the more it becomes a habit. Now, for the first 7 or 8 years, well, from 0 to 7 or 8, when your brain is in a theta brainwave, what happens is your subconscious mind is being programmed, and that's called your software. So in your brain, you have been programmed by your environment, which is the foods you ate, the TV shows you watched, the music you listened to, your parents, your relatives, the kids you went to school with, your environment basically programmed you. Now, inside, intuitively, you are called by the universe. Okay. What is difficult is to take the road less traveled if you're not in an environment that is allowing you to follow your authentic self and be a purpose driven person, right? And follow your calling. So the conflict comes in when you get to a certain age, right? Especially if you're like me, mentally and physically abused and told a lot of misinformation about my potential and talent. And a lot of people who have taken on cultural beliefs and just recycled them without challenging them and staying inside themselves and doing the spiritual work to find themselves will just repeat cycles. Like they say, you just marry what you know, whether it's right or wrong. You just start following these cycles. Like they say, an alcoholic will marry another alcoholic, or a man or a woman that had alcoholic parents, that's what they know. They go and marry an alcoholic or someone that reflects something that's familiar because we get caught in that familiar cycle. And it takes a lot to break those cycles and change. It takes a lot of courage to be authentic and follow your purpose. It's not easy, especially because if you look back to the beginning of time, I think it was 1903. Don't get upset and quote me on the exact date, but I do remember that Rockefeller invested a ton of money. I think it was close to $1 billion into the school curriculum, and he said this. He said he didn't want to create artists, philosophers, and entrepreneurs and forward thinkers. He wanted to create workers. Okay. And the Industrial Revolution was about that. It was about control.